Hey everybody, and we're back for another coffee review. And this it's Starbucks' Pike Place Roast. This one's the whole bean. Even though my coffee, even at one point in the middle of my coffee journey, I did buy the ground one. I forget, thinking that because there's a lot of instant coffee, I think it was after I had pulled off an all-nighter then. So interesting with the valve, the one-way valve being on here as opposed to here with some of the other brands. Everything looks normal. Yep. I got 2 tablespoons per 6 ounces, which is pretty similar to the goat milk ratio. Yep. Balanced, smooth and rich. And of course, the tasting notes were chocolate and toasted nut. And you get 28 ounces or 793 grams. This whole bag actually cost around $15, which I was shocked. I wasn't expecting that to cost that much. So let's just go ahead and open it. It smells a bit maybe overdone. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of pleasant smells. It smells like maybe how bitter a cup of coffee would be. It kind of just looks very similar to the Vienna Roast from Whole Foods. To this one actually. Smells pretty similar too. Yeah, except maybe this one feels a bit more oxidized. So let's just. Obviously, it's Starbucks is more shiny. But then again, these beans are a bit old, so that's to be expected. But it does smell very similar. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Just the parts that weren't on top definitely seem a lot closer. But so far it smells very similar to the Whole Foods one. Specifically the Pleasant Morning Buzz Vienna Rose, which is a little bit darker and medium. So just so people know. Alright, so here, I know approximately when this gets pretty full, it holds around maybe 30 grams or so. And I'm gonna measure it here. So the first one I'm not gonna measure it because it's not gonna be enough for what I'm going for. Now, the tasting notes said chocolate and toasted nut. It so far doesn't smell like that. It smells a bit acidic. But that's all gonna be seen. Future. Also, I have to do my taxes today. Alright, so we got 36 grams right now. Alright, and there we got 18 grams. I'm trying to squeeze as much air as I can out of the bag. And the wonder valve's here, so that makes it interesting when you get down to very, very low beans. It can oxidize very easily, since it's surrounded by other beans to sort of not have as much air in between them. I guess I'll keep that here. Alright, so 36 and 18 makes 54. And since I'm only using up to 6 of their ounces, that should give me around 30 fluid ounces of coffee. It looks better than the. Funny enough, it looks a little bit more consistent than some of the Whole Foods pre-ground one. Definitely not as fine, but we want a bit more on the medium side. Alright, so I had already set pre-infusion on that, so I just have to turn it on, and I'll be cleaning all this stuff while I wait for the coffee to be done. 36 cups is going to give me 30 fluid ounces, which is plenty for maybe today and maybe another day if you don't mind. It actually keeps the coffee surprisingly well. Obviously, it's not as good as that one, but maybe that one you might not notice until a bit. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this, and I'll be back when this is done. Alright, so everything's done right now. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. Let's take a look. And of course, this one bean that wasn't ground up, that's pretty common. Everything else looks pretty decent. Again, the Whole Foods one was a bit flatter and stuff. Here you can see where there's pockets of water. It's still dripping a bit, so careful now. That's about a cup of coffee right there. I'll probably have another one of those. So this is maybe around maybe 0.8 or 0.9. Okay, I know this whole cup holds about maybe about maybe 1.6, or it's a little more. It's more than 1.5 for sure. Yeah, you can see that little thing on there. Yeah, that's showing up on here too. Not sure what that is, but it's actually, you should probably first let it cool down a little. This is piping hot, like regular Starbucks, so it'd probably be customary to burn my tongue on the first sip. Yep, it tastes like Starbucks, alright. There's that bitterness. Yep, there's a bit of that Pike Place roast smell. Again, it's a little bit different than the other coffees. It should apparently, remember the tasting notes, it should taste chocolate and toasted nut. A bit of toasted nut, definitely. Maybe too toasted. Not really getting that chocolatey thing on there. It is a bit bitter, but it's not acidic whatsoever. At least not yet. Yeah, it's just a bit bitter. Just a bit. It's actually not as bitter. It's actually not as bitter as the Vienna Rose from Whole Foods. So. But it's also not as bitter as the other one. So obviously we probably put it like that. Maybe like this. Maybe just a little bit like that. Again, this is maybe that much more bitter. It's not much again. Maybe around half to here. So maybe around from here to here. That's how a bit more bitter this tastes than this. But there's also that Pike Place roast flavor, which is not, of course, available in this guy. Not to mention the beans were shinier, but that could just be because these beans were getting a little bit old. That's kind of why I don't have been using them. Then I went to the other one. So, but remember, technically I should have until December 7th. So maybe December 6th, I'll grind these up and see how they taste to see how true the best if used by is. I don't think it'll be very good, honestly. Also, remember the 8 o'clock ones. That bean, the Vienna roast one, is starting to look a bit more like the 8 o'clock ones were there. They were decently, I guess they weren't that matte yet, but by the time maybe I was almost done, or halfway through, they were a bit matte. And now the Vienna roast beans that were pretty similar shiny to this are now also looking that matte. So maybe the oil is getting so the oil does seem to fade with time. Let's waft a bit more of that. Again, there's a bit of that Pike Place roast. Just a bit of it, though. Not all of it is there. Yeah, but that bitterness is still there. Maybe even not as bitter as some of it, but maybe that's... So again, we made gold cup ratio and tastes enough like Starbucks, but enough like gold cup because I did use gold cup standards. And maybe to get it to a bit more of that Pike Place roast aromas and aromatic compounds, we would have to maybe brew it more like they do. We don't know if Starbucks uses gold cup ratio. They definitely use around 2 tablespoons per 6 fluid ounces, so it's pretty close. If probably not the same, but maybe they do brew a little bit hotter, or maybe not as hot. Depending on how you want, your coffee to come out. And I do remember their coffee being pretty bitter. But this one, I still like this. Now, obviously, it doesn't smell as the Pike Place roast smell does. I think maybe the water would have to be hotter for that. But then again, the coffee would also be more bitter. And I actually like the way it is right now. It seems pretty, and just enough Pike Place roast for, come on. Just enough. But for $15, maybe I should have just gotten regular beans from Whole Foods. If not the city roast, yeah, the city roast, not the full city roast. The city roast is just it's a bit more acidic. Got a 2 out of 5 on their scale, and the full city roast is like right in the middle. But you can only get that ground apparently, unless maybe I could somehow find that in bean form. But even that one is approaching to a bit more bitter than I like, and the full city roast does appear to be. I mean, I don't mind the slight bit of sourness. Again, it was only very, very slight. But that was significantly less bitter, and I could keep drinking it. Now, obviously, that sourness does increase if you don't use it in time. But that one, the normal city roast, I did finish it on time. So, but you can definitely start tasting when it was getting a little bit more, a little bit more sour by the end. But here again, the bitterness doesn't kind of washes away pretty easily. Let's go again. Yeah, so not all of it is the same kind of bitterness. Some certain parts are feel almost black tea like, which is probably what my best coffee I think what I made tasted like. It tasted more like black tea. But then again, there's a lot more bitterness here too. So their medium's probably a little bit just a tad bit darker than the Whole Foods medium, which I still really like. But lately, I think that one has been oxidizing, so I'll probably have to get the ones that are not exposed on the top to finish getting that. So for my next roast, I think I'll be trying to get as good as the ground ones from the Whole Foods city roast, because there's still quite a bit of coffee in there. And since this is a whole bean, I'm sure I can maybe make a brew or two of the other one to try and get as much as that one. And this one's still in bean form, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. But then again, $15 for this, as opposed to maybe $10 or $11 for any one of these. Again, you get this is 28 ounces, you get 24, or here you get 793 grams, you get 680. So for around 100 more grams, you have to pay maybe 50% more. The shorter aroma is a bit there, but is that really as significant for that approximately 50% increase in price? Also, I know that this tastes a bit darker than that, but not much. Again, you can see how the beans are now looking a little bit more like the 8 o'clock ones. So I think that's good. Again, ooh, the coffee's starting to kick in. Oh yeah, there's that bitterness, and maybe that little bit tinge of sourness. Just mildly lactose nut, and maybe that if they're referring to chocolate as just the cocoa powder without any milk and sugar, then yes, I guess that is that little bit of sourness and bitterness. Again, certain parts are a bit more sour when you drink this. So maybe if that's referring to as chocolate, then I guess I have tasted it, chocolate. Again, more towards the back of the mouth is you taste a bit more bitterness. The front, everything goes over pretty smooth. But hey, at least the coffee's starting to kick in, and I should be able to grind through my work right now, and I guess I'll see everyone else in the next one. And maybe again, I can't decide what to do on the next one. Since I have a few reviews, and it would require a lot of work to get those out. And since the Sennheiser one has, I think, creeped up around 140, maybe 150, and I want to do another one, another pair of headphones, but again, everything's so busy right now. So I'm gonna try and get that done. I know the reviews are approximately once a month, if not one video a month, but that's what I can do right now, considering again it's you're not making any money from the channel. All right, so I'll see everyone in the next one, and take care, guys.